Hi, everybody, and welcome to Roar Time, the Columbus Lions Coaches Show with head coach, director of football operations, Jason Gibson. Filling in for regular host Eric Fowler, I'm Rick Jacobson of the Lions staff. Coach Gibson, we are going to the championship game of the National Arena League, year 2. And once again, this is your 4th straight championship game.
Say that again. 4 straight, right?
4th straight championship game.
Make sure they heard that. I'm playing. That's a jab at some people. So.
I see. Well, you and I have been together the bulk of the last 12 years on the Lions staff. So for you, this is your 6th championship game in 12 years. We go all the way back to the World Indoor Football League in 2007. And that was a barn burner at the Civic Center where the Augusta Stallions, long gone.
Threw an interception on the last play of the game to lose it. I remember that game today.
Really? Because I'm thinking of a touchdown pass that beat us. Our memories fade.
It was 3rd and 10. We had the ball on the 15-yard line. We were down by 2. I was going to throw one pass in the end zone, take a shot, kick a field goal, walk-off winner, and we threw a pick. And that's how we lost the first one. And, we were talking about this in practice, actually. We've had 2 other semi-conference games where we fumbled the snap again that cost us a chance to go to the championship. So we could have been in 8 championships in 12 years.
8 in 12 years. There probably is no team in professional sports that can match that percentage. It sounds a little bit like the Braves run in the 90s.
I think the only other indoor team that does it is it Sioux Falls or Sioux City?
I can never get those two straight.
I can't either, but they do a good job up there. But it's been a great run. 4 years in a row. It's something that, honestly, that I'm kind of proud of, regardless if you win them or lose them, to be able to maintain that excellence with different quarterbacks and different leagues and different personnel, and to continue to find your way at the end of the day in that game with a chance. It's all you can ask for.
Well, the idea that you mentioned, we have been in 6 different leagues over the years. For the fans, quick recap, there was a World Indoor Football League, lasted 1 year, a 4-team league, very exciting and competitive league. Then we went to the American Indoor Football Association, if I recall correctly, followed by the Southern Indoor Football League, which wasn't always Southern. As it expanded, it probably de-solidified, if that's a word, and led to the creation with our managing partner, John Hargrove, taking a lead role in the Professional Indoor Football League. PIFL was a very solid league.
It's a good league. It was a very good league. All those just, basically just pick a letter, pick an alphabet letter.
Yeah.
But to me, I think the league we're in now is probably the best league we've been in. Competitively, marketing, sales, excitement, the entire professionalism of the league has changed. The talent level has changed. It's everything is pretty darn good, and the media coverage, the shows, the TV coverage, it's just taking this thing to a whole nother level.
Jason, tell fans a little bit about, as we go to Greensboro, North Carolina, interestingly, both you and I have roots in Greensboro. I was in minor league baseball there.
Grasshoppers, or the Bats?
Well, it goes back further. I was there in the 1979 Greensboro Hornets when baseball came back for the first time since, I think, the early 60s.
I was 5.
He was 5 years old. Yes, gives you an idea how ancient I'm getting. But then came back for 6 years in the late 80s and 90s, by which time we switched from Hornets and Bats, new ownership. And you were there a little later coaching high school football, playing for the local pro team called the Prowlers. A little bit about your background and time in Greensboro.
It was a good time in my life. I met, our former player personnel guy, Clayton Banner there. He was our coach. I got lucky enough to have some coaches on the arena team that were involved in the high school system, and they got me involved in the high school system in the off season. That's how that all started. The team folded, and I really didn't want to leave. At the time, I kind of finished playing. I was done playing. It was a good place. I was at Western Guilford, Eastern Guilford. I was at Dudley. That was a great school. They were all great schools, great people, man. It's a fun town. Still got a house there.
Oh.
So after all these years over there on not Guilford College, Horsepen Creek. So still got a house over there, and it's Matt Brown at the Coliseum was a great guy. He's kept that place, and just a lot of good friends, a lot of good memories.
You know, you mentioned the Greensboro Coliseum. Of course, when I was there toward the end of my second time, expansion from 13,000 seats to about 23,000 took place. What is it like playing in such a cavernous arena?
Well, I was there, our first game there, I was there when there were 17,000 people in an arena game. I mean, it was insane. But they'll drop the curtains around the top, so you'll never see the upper level in our games because they block those seats off. That's about 13,000 seats they block off. And that puts 10,000 seats just in the lower bowl. So that arena is so massive. It's so huge. It's a really nice arena. You can put 4,000 to 5,000 people in there. It doesn't look like you have anybody. You know, it's just so massive, and the upgrades, and of course they have to get aquatics, the auditorium, all the trade show venues in it. It's just a massive facility.
I'm anxious to see it again. Now, the one event that took place while I was still there, if you remember the days of Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding leading up to the Olympics, I want to say it was about 1990, 92, somewhere in there. The Coliseum had just been expanded, and I attended a Nancy Kerrigan skating session where it had a full house of about 23,000. And of course, for those fans who aren't familiar with Greensboro, North Carolina, they had been the sole host of the ACC college basketball tournament for years and years. So once Charlotte and I think Atlanta were getting the tournament from time to time, Greensboro had to expand to be able to keep the tournament on a rotating basis. And we're going to play the Carolina Cobras. I'm going to talk a little bit analyzing our team, of course.
Right.
How do you rate them as an opponent after playing them 3 times this year?
I think we match with them the best, to be honest with you. But I mean, all the teams in the NAL are good this year. I mean, obviously Lehigh had a down year. Maine had a phenomenal run at the end. Good thing they didn't get in the playoffs. They might have won it. They were playing really well. And every team in our league, you know, everybody was right in every game, and so it was just so competitive. And it wouldn't matter if this game was Mass Jacksonville, us Massachusetts, Mass Carolina. It was going to be a good game no matter what.
You are highly ranked among the coaches in professional indoor and arena football, and so is Billy Back, the Cobras coach. You faced him earlier when he was with the Nashville Venom a few years ago. Tell us a little bit about him as a person and coaching career in relation to your own.
I'm not going to lie to you, I don't even know him.
Okay.
I mean, I just don't. I mean, I know him by the names. You know, I don't have in those coaching ranks, and as far as the ranks that we've been in. I've been doing this for a long time, but I'm not into a lot of these coaches as far as on a personal basis, and just not really familiar. I don't track it. I mean, everything you just told me kind of was the first time I've heard of it. So,
I just wondered whether coaches convene at any point. I know you're playing against each other, but is there any time on game day to talk a little bit?
You know, not really. And of course, with our schedules and my schedule, and you know how that stuff works out. You just, you know. Anytime you get a free second to breathe and get your head above water, for me, it's with my family. It's not you know, I just don't spend a lot of time on the phone with other coaches and things like that. So, you know, it's nothing personal. It's just not my thing.
There you have it, Lions Nation. The coaches' fraternity in the National Arena League is less than you might have thought as far as getting to know each other. But professionally, these are 2 very, very successful arena coaches. And I thought that we'd recap the Lions season a little bit by discussing the team by player group position.
Sure.
And let's start with the very successful backfield of the Lions. Of course, Mason Espinosa and Jeremy Johnson. Tell us a little bit about how you feel they've done along with the running game.
Well, it's been a good year statistically. The award ceremony is on Sunday, and you'll probably see a bunch of names from the Lions in that, because through the first 10 or 11 games of the season, before we hit that stretch and that run, you know, we were leading the league in offense. Mason was leading the league in passing. Hicks was leading the league in rushing. Purefoy was the first receiver to get ready to break 1,000 yards. Deron Neal was right behind him. Fortson was right there too. I mean, we had the top position in every offensive category. Of course, Purefoy goes down, you know, and we want to make a shout out to Tristan. You know, well wishes to him. His mom passed away this month, and you know, phenomenal young man, phenomenal person. Anything you know, say your prayers for Tristan. But you know, he was the first one to break 1,000. He was getting ready before he got hurt. And you look at that core of 5 offensive players, and this is why I think we were so good early in the season. When we went on a run where we beat Mass, beat Carolina, beat Jacksonville back to back to back to back, and we were sitting at 7-3. But at that time, you know, from a receiver standpoint, any one of those 3 receivers is the top receiver in the league, without a doubt. Mason was the top quarterback in the league. Hicks was the top fullback in the league. There's no doubting it. And that was just a good core of guys. And all of a sudden now you lose Mason, you lose Purefoy, Neil left the team, and that dynamic gets torn up a little bit. And it took us a little bit of time to get back to where we were. But from a skill standpoint, I mean, we've always managed to have. When you think of the great trio, I think of like three amigos. I think of Merritt and Gales and whoever the third one was at the time. It just
Not popping into my head.
But those two were the standing ones that were solid for over the time. And then in 2015, you had Fortson and John Harris and Ibagua. That was a tough set of receivers to cover. And then next you had Fortson and Reeve and Purefoy. It's just a matter of every year we've had that really good set. And then Espinoza just really came into his own.
Well, here's something interesting. You have, and surprisingly enough, you referred to a player personnel director, Clayton Banner, who I recently learned was no longer with us. So you on your own, essentially, have rebuilt the receiving corps by going back to the great years of the Columbus Lions,
Right.
Star receivers, London Crawford, Terrence Ibagua.
Well, yeah, now you look at it now as we go into the game, I've got 4 veteran receivers. You starts with Fortson, who's he's the best receiver in the league. And everybody knows that. And we'll talk about the whole incident mass here after the break, because that's a funny story. But you got Fortson, and then I bring in Daryl Thompson, who's an AFL vet, Jacksonville, and that guy's unbelievable. You add him to the mix, and then you bring in London, who had a phenomenal game, and then you bring in Ibagua. Those are 4 first-team, all-league wide receivers across the board. I mean, holy cow.
And to just highlight, in my opinion, what a phenomenal job you've done rebuilding that core, you look on the Lions roster on our website, you've got Kyle Griswood as wide receiver. So apparently he's versatile enough to do that if you
Yeah,
work.
Kyle had to. I mean, and that's what people don't understand. It's funny, and we can say this. When we signed Ibagua, everybody's flipping out. I can't believe the Lions signed a receiver right before the championship game. How are they allowed to do that? Well, we had everybody hurt. I mean, Thompson pulled his hamstring. Fortson was iffy day to day with his knee, and with the suspension. So how would you know if he was going to play? Neil left the team. So I really only had London Crawford left. How am I supposed to play the game? Everybody's thinking like, oh, they're just going to sign players to stack his team. He didn't play in the AFL. Ibagua didn't play in any other league. He was a free agent on the street. So if I was to lose my starting quarterback before the championship game, am I not allowed to sign another quarterback? It is the most idiotic comments that I see and hear. And it boggles my mind. It's the ignorance of some people. But
Sure, and I spoke to Ibagua, and he said he was doing very well with a good job down in Florida, southern Florida.
Yep.
And for him to join you says as much about him taking on a tough situation.
yeah, I mean, he wanted to play. But here's what people don't understand. I reached out to Ibagua 6-7 weeks ago.
Oh.
I didn't just, hey, we're going to a championship game against Carolina. I need help. Let me go sign the best receiver out there. That's not what happened. But that goes back to ignorance. So, I'd been talking to him probably week 7, and I'd been constantly trying to get him, and his work schedule never fit our time frame. And even going into the playoffs when Tristan went out, the first thing we did is let's call Terrence. He's like, Coach, my schedule. And then after the Massachusetts game, going into the Massachusetts game, I talked to Terrence, and he said, Coach, I can't, my job, but if you make it past this game, you still need the help. I can play for a week. And why not? The guy's the PIFL MVP of the league, and he's a phenomenal, he's a threat. So from a competitive standpoint and from doing the right thing by the league standards is exactly what I did.
And would you say that it is a resource to be able to shape your roster a little bit for playoff games, that this extra experience of the veteran Lions coming back gives you a slight edge in that category?
Well, yeah. I mean, for us, because it was great to bring Terrence into practice, and he already knew all the plays. It's the same stuff. Daryl Thompson is an AFL vet. He knows the plays. London, it's kind of, we can ad-lib in the huddle, and they know what they're doing. Now, I've got 3 or 4 rookie receivers that I think are going to be outstanding. I think Scott Schumann is going to be a really good player in this league down the road. I've got 2 other rookie receivers that I could have brought in yesterday. I'm not in the teaching mode right now. I'm in the get it done, let's win mode. And we don't have a lot of time. But, we talked about the length of the schedule being, this is our 17th game. We've had 3 bye weeks, so that's 20 weeks. A championship bye week, that's 21 weeks. And 3 weeks of training camp. That's 24 weeks.
Half a year.
It's half a year. It's ridiculous. And these guys are tired, man. That's a lot of practice and a lot of banging. And to bring in a rookie just wouldn't be good at this time.
Speaking of which, your offensive line, don't hear much about them. But Dion Small back with us for, 8 years now?
9.
9 years. And then first-timers Ronnie Barrow and Nate Isles. Tell us about their development and production.
It's a great offensive line. It really is. I mean, we went to a stretch there, in that 4-game stretch we struggled. Nate sprained his ankle and playing touch football. That was a huge backbreaker for us. So for 3 games, we're playing without the best offensive lineman in the league, and he is the best offensive lineman in the league.
Big man.
He's an NFL player. And so then we had to make some switches and move outs, and of course Quavon goes to the NFL, then he comes back, and we had some moving parts there. But again, when you look at that stretch run that we had when everybody was healthy and everybody was in, we were dominant. And we knew when we walked on the field we had better players. We just had to make sure we played like it. And sometimes it happened and sometimes it didn't. But then as the season went on, and everybody has handled this problem, and we didn't handle it as good as we wanted to, but everybody has to go through nutrition. Jacksonville went through a ton of injuries. Everybody goes through injuries. Mass went through some injuries. And so, but that offensive line at the time, when we were at our peak, was giving up the fewest sacks in the league. And so they did a good job, and Nate's a great player, so is Dion. So is Ronnie. Ronnie's awesome.
Before we go to break, thought I'd just mention a couple stats off the league website that in some cases may or may not surprise, but Quavon Hicks is and was the leading rusher. Now, this doesn't include playoff game 1 against Massachusetts, but he ran 81 times for 305 yards. I wish I'd brought the reading glasses. Scored 12 touchdowns. Mason Espinosa passing for 64% on the year, a little bit over than that, for 66 touchdowns. Had a passer rating of almost 110, which was quite high.
To me, that's the stat for a quarterback. If you look at the rest of the quarterbacks, he was the only one in the 60% completion. Everybody else was 50%. I think 50% is trash for an arena quarterback, to be honest with you. The 50% is not good enough, really barely good enough for outdoor football. When you're an indoor quarterback, you need to be 64, really 65 and above to have success. And he did that. And of course, the passer rating, but the main thing is, I don't know how many picks he threw. 4?
I don't have that number on me.
I think he threw 4 interceptions.
6 or 7.
2 or 3 of them were tipped off the helmet of somebody.
Right.
2 of them were off the wall, like it bounced off the top of the wall. So when you got a quarterback who throws 60-plus touchdowns and he's single-digit interceptions, that's impressive. Anybody can go out there and throw 70 touchdowns. When you got 20 picks, who cares?
And Jeremy Johnson against Massachusetts was up in the 70% range.
Huge. He was almost 73% completion percentage, and that is what it's about. That's what it's about.
We're going to take a break and talk a little bit about the defense and our CTV Roar Time sponsors after our next commercial break. This is Roar Time with head coach Jason Gibson and your host for today, Rick Jacobson.
Thanks, Dr. J. My back feels so much better. Now tell me where I can go for my headaches.
Really? You don't need to go anywhere else. That's what we do.
Well, what about my shoulder?
That's what we do.
Pinched nerve?
That's what we do.
Well, what about disc problems?
That's what we do.
Sciatica?
With almost 500,000 patient visits over the last 34 years, don't just take my word for it. Ask a friend.
Call Dr. J. Broadwin and Associates today.
I don't have to tell you, this town can get wicked when it puts its mind to it. Same goes for Popeyes. Last time we got wicked, you just ate it up. Well, honey, my $4 Wicked Good deal is back. You know why I fry my chicken into wickedly twisted shapes? Because it makes them wicked crunchy and perfect for dipping. The best part? It comes with a side and a biscuit for just $4. That's a wicked good deal. So I hope you're hungry, because Wicked Chicken is back.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.
Hi, I'm Charles.
And I'm Tony with Midas here in Columbus, Georgia.
Did you know that 84,000 people in the Chattahoochee Valley go hungry every day? So we've partnered with Feeding the Valley Food Bank here in Columbus, Georgia. Every oil change feeds up to 5 people. or you can drop off food donations at either one of our locations.
Together we can drive out hunger.
Come visit us at either one of our Columbus locations. We're located at 315 13th Street or 1631 Manchester Expressway.
Welcome back to today's edition of Roar Time with the Lions Coaches Show with head coach Jason Gibson. I'm Rick Jacobson. And we've just finished discussing the Lions offense, and we are among the top defenses in the league. Let's talk a little bit, if you could, how this team came to fruition and came to gel, starting with the defensive linemen.
The D-line actually we took a hit beginning of the year when Ken Washington went out. Obviously Ken being a vet, being a great player, we thought that was when he went down, I was like, oh, what are we going to do? Darius Rosser came on out of the blue and turned out to me to be one of our go-to count players. I think Darius is a phenomenal player. I hope he comes back next year. And so Darius was a surprise.
Arkansas State,
of course, Corey Crawford, and then Dalen Bunning is kind of how we started the season off with. And I thought they did a good job. I always thought the defense has been solid all year long. As I look on it, I think we've only gave up 60 points twice all season.
And you mentioned sacks earlier. We had a significant advantage in team sacks this year. If my numbers and memory are correct, I think.
Well, a huge thing is you lose Ken Washington early, and then we had Greg Hall Jr. at Auburn. He was leading the league in sacks, and then he gets hurt, and he tears his. It's just one of those years. I've got more guys standing on the sidelines than I got, playing in the game, and it's been a battle of nutrition. When you look at the players that got hurt this year are premier players at their position. Greg Hall Jr., Purefoy, Espinoza. The Bill still be standing here is definitely it shows that the fight of our team. But from the D-line standpoint, the big addition was late in the year. We picked up the two Ohio State boys,
right?
Savon Pittman and Steve Miller. They came on board late, and holy cow, those guys can play.
Premier program. And in mentioning the injured players, we hadn't gotten to the defensive backs yet, but of course, Marte Sears.
You're looking at arguably, Marte's one of the best. He's one of the best defensive players out there, without a doubt. And he didn't even, 2 days of training camp, he gets in a car accident and tears his knee.
That's right. We never saw him on the field this year.
Never saw him on the field. He's a game changer. He is a legitimate best athlete on the field, game changer. And when you look at, we lost all of that, and we're still here.
Fans, this really is a testament. Jason's too modest to say anything, but his career coaching record with the Columbus Lions is now, if my count is exact, 111-54. Last time I did the division, that worked out to 673 or 675 winning percentage. This is spectacular. Now, I know we're not focusing just on your accomplishments, but I think it's testament to just how creative you are and how extensive your ties are in the indoor football world to be able to recruit and find replacement players and create this kind of depth with all those injuries.
Well, I've always said this. There's players out there, always. There's so many great football players out there. You just have to find them. You have to give people opportunity. And there's always somebody out there that's hungry. And when somebody stops being hungry, you get rid of them and you find the next guy who's hungry. That's just battle. That's just how the world is. That's how society is. That's how every job force is. And that's how you keep them competitive. You keep bringing guys in that are hungry, like the Darius Rossers and examples. So I appreciate it. It's been a good run. What
about the Lions culture that you've created over the years with splendid assistants like Brandon Reed and Brandon Thomas?
It's been a continuity thing. Just like me and you. I think that's what makes this organization is great. It's our relationship over the last 9-10 years. So you understand how to work with somebody. It's not a constant turnover. And it keeps that. That's what keeps winning. And Rayshawn Reed's one of the best defensive coordinators in the league, without a doubt. We always have a constant turnover on defense, and he figures out a way to make it work.
He does have a turnover in his name from time to time. We've called him Brandon some years and Rayshawn others.
Yeah. So him, and we, of course, Brandon Thomas now who's coaching, who was a player and probably one of the best O-line coaches out there. And then we had Brandon Hall as a D coordinator for all those years. So we've had some really good coaches that we've stayed with even from an operations standpoint. And that's how you win, is continuity. And you know, even in the front office with you and Tanima and Haley, having the same people who understand how to work together, good or bad. You know, we all get in arguments and we all have kumbayas and things like that. But at the end of the day, we all understand each other, and I think that's how you continue to be successful. You know, whether it's on the field or off the field or anything.
And that extends to ownership too. We've pretty much had the same group for 12 years. A little bit of change here and there, but I think that Josh Blair's addition to the ownership group has been very impactful. And I know you have a particularly good relationship with Josh and helped get him into the group.
Yeah.
You want to tell folks a little bit about his Chattahoochee?
Josh is a great guy. Started out as a ticket holder. Started out with we had a ball boy that he introduced us to that wound up being a ball boy for us, and that's how he got into the game. Of course, he's the owner of Chattahoochee Scuba, Columbus, which is great. He gave me scuba lessons. Holy cow, that's awesome. If you get a chance to go see Chattahoochee Scuba up on Veterans Parkway, up next to Everything Musical, what a great experience. And he does a lot of stuff for Army guys, for the vets, teaching the guys how to scuba dive, and he's got a huge passion for football, as do you, as does our other owners that love this game, love our city. That's important, and it's not easy sometimes being in an ownership group. You know what I'm talking about, but it's at the end of the day, when you look back as a coach, being here for 12 years, and you look back as an owner, we have great stories about Greensboro, and we have great stories about Columbus and Phoenix City in this area. You look at all the people that we've impacted, that you've changed the course of their life. The Rayshawn Reeds of the world, because of the Lions and what it's done for him, and now he runs his own private, workout facility where he trains players. And Brandon Hall's a successful coach at Central High School. You got Calvin Arnold, who's coaching local high school football. You got Joe Kegler. You got Cedric Ware. You got all these guys that have come through the Lions that are in this community now. Now you've got the Greg Hall Juniors who are now in the school system. You look at what the Lions ownership has done for me personally, to be able to be here for 12 years, and all the people that not only that I've impacted, but you guys have impacted me, that allowed me to go on a side gig, but also to be impactful at the local school system at Glenwood School. And then now we've got all those kids that are in college because of my relationship, which filtered from the sacrifices the owners made. And so at the end of the day, it's just a tree that I'm proud of, that started with our local ownership, who's been the same guys for almost all these years to build these relationships. Because at the end of the day, you can't take your money with you. It's an old saying, but it's really true. And when you come in with nothing, you leave with nothing. And it's what you can do to impact people. And you hear it over and over again. How do you impact people? What can you do in your community to make a difference? And we've done it, I think. And
I feel very strongly in agreement with what you're saying as a minority owner of the team. The most fun we have sometimes involves spending some money. And you don't interact with, say, game day staff perhaps as much as I do. You've got the operations and on-field folks, and I deal with some people who have high-quality positions in the work world, 9 to 5. But Saturday evenings, some of the finest people join us for game day operations. And I'll just make one example, list one. Gail Tompkins, retired Air Force, who came to us as sort of a church activist, just wanted to help kids enjoy Lions football. Gail Tompkins is a woman who has probably bought $1,000 of tickets for kids out of her own pocket this year, and for veterans like herself. And we had the privilege of having her included as Air Force Reserve recruits were inducted at halftime of the last home game. These are special moments. My relationship with Gail has furthered, and there are plenty of others like that, but I think you hit it right on the head with the impact that we're having on people's lives and how rewarding it is, no matter how much it may cost to do this sort of thing. We are citizens of Columbus.
It's exhausting. Everybody knows what I do. You know how exhausting it is, and I've probably aged 10 years in the last 2. But everybody knows that you're doing something for a cause, and you build those relationships, and it's great to go downtown Columbus and, hey, how's it going, and see people and build relationships, and that's really what it's all about at the end of the day.
personal relationships with many of our season ticket holders and advertisers who we're going to get to in just
People
a moment.
that you would never meet. People that you would walk down the street and you wouldn't look at them as you walk past and say hi. And now, I walk in and I'm not trying to give shouts out, but I enjoy walking into Mama Goldberg's downtown and seeing that staff. They know my face. They walk in, hey, coach, I see Leslie, the manager who's been there for years. And you build those relationships, or the Wes Hargroves at Tires First, and the Jay Broadwins, and then his staff, and the Gala over at Hilton Garden Inn. And you just get a chance to meet people because of your job, that you build relationships, and it just makes it for a better place, man.
I think some more of that's going to come out when we recap our CTV sponsors momentarily. I want to let you give props to a part of the team that we hadn't discussed yet today. But our season started to turn around when you signed Tyler Rossa as our third kicker of the season. Talk a little bit about that situation.
Man, just what a good player. What a player. I mean, Derek, shout out to Derek Vaca. He had to go to the hospital last night. So we'll make sure he's doing okay and check on him, say your prayers for Derek.
What sort of situation?
I don't want to disclose that, but he's doing better now. But he still had to go in. And but Tyler came in out of Boise State. He was a Lou Groza finalist. I watched his highlight film. I watched him belt a 71-yard field goal on
71.
And when he came in, man, first question I asked him, funny story, is I said, he said he worked at a golf course. And when he said he worked at a golf course, light bulbs went off. And I said, okay, he's pretty darn good. Because I've never not had a kicker that didn't shoot scratch. And he's a scratch shooter. Or I think he is. Or you played with him, didn't you?
We did play in the 4th of July tournament.
Pretty
and
good?
He's a good golfer. I wouldn't call him scratch, but he hit a couple of drives that we measured at 360
Holy
yards.
God. So it's amazing. But when he said he was a golfer, I knew, because most good kickers are good golfers because it's the same motion.
Mm-hmm.
And that first game out of the gate, man, the guy scores 20-something points, and he's folklore. But what a great guy, great kicker, and he can change the game. It's a weapon. It is a true weapon. So
there are games that his deuce kicking, as well as high field goal percentage, literally kept us in it while being outscored touchdown.
Well, if you do the math, if he makes, let's say you average 50 points a game, so that's 7 touchdowns, maybe 8. And you get an opening kickoff, or you get a halftime kickoff, this depends. You get 9 chances to kick at the field goal. If he makes 2, that's 4 points. That is another possession. That means the other team has to score a touchdown. You can't kick a field goal to make up the 4 points. You got to score a touchdown. That means the other team has to score a touchdown, and you haven't, and those deuces are uncontested points. Somebody brought that to my attention, and they're right. We could score points without a possession. That's huge. And he's a huge weapon.
When you get that lead and it's more than 8 points, and the knowledge that you cannot be caught no matter what the other team does, touchdown, 2-point conversion, deuce, that's big.
Well, I think one game we played, and I can't remember which one it was, we jumped out 20-0, and we only scored 2 touchdowns.
I remember the occasion, cannot immediately remember the opponent.
And I think it was Jacksonville at home, the last Jacksonville game. It was 20. They scored 2 touchdowns. We scored 2 touchdowns. But he drop kicked after the instead of kicking the extra point. So when you score a touchdown, he drop kicked it, and then he hit the deuce. That was 10 points of possession. It was 20-14, and we both scored the same amount of touchdowns. It's amazing.
Fans may not be aware that a drop kicked point after touchdown is a 2-pointer. Right. A drop kicked field goal, if it ever happened, would be 4 points.
Absolutely, and he's good at it.
Mm-hmm.
He's good at it. So.
Well, the Lions did average 51.5 points. I did grab this statistic. We averaged 51.5 to our opponent's 47.4 this year. So there's the 4-point difference you just alluded to.
Well, we went through a stretch the last 3 or 4 games. We just couldn't score over 35 points. That number could be way different. Plus, on top of that, I didn't get to play Lehigh Valley 4 times.
Right.
I mean, some of these teams played Lehigh Valley 4 times and ran the score up. So if you take the Lehigh Valley games out of the equation and then you do the stats, let's talk.
News release from the National Arena League that on Sunday there will be some discussion of expansion by the expansion chairman. Correct. Jeff Bushey. Can you tell us a little bit of insight about who might come into the league?
No.
But there will be some.
Yeah, it's going to be good markets. It's markets everybody already knows about. It's exciting. You got to be real careful about expansion. It's not always about can you hurry up and grab a city. It's not about that. You have to have the right ownership, the right city. I think we've got 2 or 3 that'll that'll be exciting. I mean, it's like the CFL. The CFL's played with 7 or 8 teams for 75, 80 years. And that works pretty good.
It does work great. And we can say from our own experience that being in a league like the AIF with 21 teams, half of them didn't even finish the season.
That's just you got to have a solid product. And the PIFL was like that. We had a solid product. But people want to build, you know, when you think of SEC football, when you think of the SEC West, you know it's Alabama, Auburn, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, LSU. You know those rivalries. All of a sudden, let's say the SEC West expanded next year and you threw in an Indiana. Nobody cares about going and watching Indiana versus Auburn football game. Nothing against Indiana, but they're new kids on the block. They're not familiar with the rivalry. But, you know, when you look at the NAL, people look on the schedule and say, oh, okay, Mass is coming in. You want to continue the same teams with the same coaches, the same ownerships. That's how you build really great rivalries, great games.
Did it surprise you, and we're both Northerners, you may say, you
Sure.
native of Maryland, me of Massachusetts and Connecticut. Did it surprise you that we were able to develop such strong rivalries with teams in Portland, Maine, and Worcester, Massachusetts?
Not with social media, no. I mean, back in the day without it, yeah, because they don't know who people are. But once you get social media out there and you can connect with people like they're right next to you, you can build those rivalries, plus with the players, and plus with the games. That what builds a rivalry. When you have 3 games with Massachusetts come down to the last play of the game, that's how you build a rivalry. When you beat people 80-30, it's not a rivalry. That's, you know, that's the difference. And that's what happened in all those terrible AIF leagues that we ran. We're just blowing people out. And it's not, you know, people want to leave by second quarter, myself included. So that's what was great in you know, the Maines and the Massachusetts of the world. It's just really good for the league.
Well, you've had to recap the Lions' 8-7 regular season with a huge win at Massachusetts' first round of the playoffs. So once again, the Lions play in Greensboro, North Carolina against the Carolina Cobras this coming Monday, the 27th, 7 o'clock. Will there be TV coverage on CTV?
Absolutely. It's tuned to CTV Beam. I know it's HD, Channel 7 and Channel 207. It'll be all over Facebook, all over social media. They're going to air the game live along with us. So, you know, they do such a good job at CTV.
That is phenomenal. And if perchance, well, fans, we do urge and encourage you to drop by Sapo's Mexican Casino.
Yeah, post-game party, not post-game, playoff party, watch party.
Right. So if you want to watch the game with legions of fans from Lions Nation, you can do that at Sapo's outside Peachtree Mall, which has hosted both home game after parties and viewing parties all season long.
Pollo Loco. That's what you need to order.
Pollo Loco.
I love that. So Alejandro out there in Orlando and that whole staff. I mean, you talk about one of my favorite places in Columbus. And not just because the food's great and because it comes out quick, but because of the staff. And it goes back to what we were going to mention a little bit later. It's just the relationships you build, and it's small businesses in Columbus that you want to support. And it's nice to walk in a business and they have the same staff, the same employees, and they know you, they know what you want to eat, they interact with you. That makes it great, man.
Well, with that said, let's take a quick break and we will come back and recognize and thank our advertisers on CTV Beam for another great year of Roar Time, which I've enjoyed very much. And we'd be remiss if we didn't thank Eric Fowler for hosting the show for 2 years.
He's a shout out to you, Eric.
This is, I am an Eric too, although I don't go by it. I have a lot of respect for that man. He has been a loyal Lions public address announcer and, of course, host of this show for 3 years, this show for 2. And he's just done a stupendous job capturing and enhancing the spirit and excitement of Lions football.
Yes, he has.
And Eric, good luck to you in your career with Synovus up in the Atlanta area and your upcoming marriage. And we look forward to coming back to the final segment of Roar Time right after these words.
Collision Surgeons of Columbus, now at our new location at 5050 Warm Springs Road Connector. We've teamed up with JP Auto Care to create a one-stop shop for your collision and mechanical needs. Don't go into cardiac arrest. Come by Collision Surgeons at 5050 Warm Springs Road Connector.
You're gonna do great.
Thanks, Dad.
Break a leg!
Aflac?
Not that kind of break. That had to hurt.
Affleck?
Not that kind of hurt. Yeah, Affleck paid us cash in just one day to help with our car payments and mortgage.
Affleck!
Perfect timing! See how Affleck helps cover everyday expenses at Affleck.com.
Every day, men and women from communities across this nation serve as Reserve Citizen Airmen.
I am proud to defend our nation.
Proud to be part of a team that helps make a difference.
I am proud to be part of something larger than me and to serve my country.
We celebrate those who have served and those who are proudly serving in the Air Force Reserve. Our mission is to fly, fight, and win in air, space, and cyberspace.
I am proud to be a member. I am proud to protect our...
Proud to serve in the U.S. Air Force Reserve.
USAA gives me the peace of mind and the security just like the Marines did. At one point I did change to a different company with car insurance and I was not happy with the customer service. We have switched back over and we feel like we're back home now. We're the Williams family and we're USAA members for life.
Welcome back to Roar Time, the Columbus Lions Coaches Show with head coach Jason Gibson, your longtime host of the show. I guess I'm a fill-in for the day, Rick Jacobson. And we want to take a moment to recognize year-long sponsors on CTV Beam that sponsor directly the Coaches Show, Roar Time with Jason. And the relationships they have built with the Lions over the years has just really been terrific. Jason, I'm going to do this alphabetically.
All right.
Aflac, of course, is a Roar Time show. What do you want to tell us about their ties with the Lions?
Hey, great sponsor, been with us all these years. The thing about Aflac, they always do Aflac Cancer Awareness Night. This year we did Children's Cancer Awareness Night. Had a chance to go up to Emory and visit the kids. Did an Jersey auction. Wow, that's crazy.
In New Jersey.
Yeah, do some donations. Great people. Obviously, Aflac's home is Columbus, Georgia, and they've always been a major sponsor.
Air Force Reserve, which expanded their relationship with the Lions this year. They sponsor the defensive player of the game. They sponsor Pass the Pigskin, a fan favorite involving the miniature footballs at halftime or this year at the end of the third quarter. I'd like to thank T. Sergeant Sean Robinson, who's become a very good friend. And Sean and the Air Force Reserve have been loyal Lions clients now for 3 years. Moving forward, Allstate.
Allstate Insurance, good hands, catching the game. Sean McGarity, Jay Broadwin, and Associates Chiropractor. Dr. Jay's always got your back. Complete Home Inspectors, Shane Blankenship, great friend, local here in Phoenix City. He also did the best seat in the house. And Collision Surgeons of Columbus, Cindy Dunning, definitely got, if you need issues with your car, getting it fixed, dings, go see her. They also paint all our helmets too. She does a great job. And they also did the Collision Surgeons Hit of the Week. Just some really great sponsors, and they've been there all year long and huge supporters.
We're coming around to Sappo's, but in the meantime, while you were there for Media Day 2 days ago, I was enjoying a Jordan's Girls gourmet dog. I love Natalie and Mama J, and they have been longtime sponsors. If you want the best hot dog, just go to the corner of 8th and Veterans, and you will get the Lions dog is the bomb, is all I can say. Give it a try. Midas of Columbus, terrific friends of the Lions for about 8 years. Charlie Sutton downtown, Tony Serafini on Manchester Expressway will take care of your car like nobody's business. They are terrific folks. Motors Acceptance Corp, first year with the Lions, actually second year, first year for Scott Richardson, who has become quite the Lions fan, and we thank them. You'll know them as 1-800-NEW-RATE, Motors Acceptance Corp, which is on 13th Street in Columbus. One of my favorite accounts, you might say, Players Restaurant and their sister restaurant, Locals Grill and Bar, up near on Somerville Road. Players is on 54th Street in Columbus. We've had some very interesting lunches with the Lions. I remember them with Lindsay Wolf, with Jarmon Fortson, with Kyle Griswood. So we thank those two restaurants, and in fact, they'll be adding a terrific addition to the restaurant scene here, Old Chicago Pizza Room, Tap Room, I believe it's called, coming in the next few months. Over to you with Popeyes.
Oh, Sam over at Popeye's Kitchen. Those girls are great over on River. What's it called? River Road. Wow.
Yep.
Corner of River Road, Manchester. But Popeyes did the Deuce promotion all year long. Anytime we hit a Deuce, you could take your ticket stubs to the Popeyes restaurant and get a free meal or no, get a free apple pie. They got the best apple pies in period. I'm sorry.
I'm a dirty rice guy myself. But
they got the best apple pie. So you get that douche, you get apple pie from Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. Then obviously we talked about Sapo's Mexican Bar and Casino and Grill. I said all that one time, but Alejandro, the guys out there, the Pollo Loco, they've got great wings. You think you go to a Mexican restaurant, they got great wings. The lemon peppers are to die for, and great spot. I love those guys out there, and make sure you get a chance to go out there.
I think the players have ordered about 1,000 wings this year, just alone among themselves. Next up, Sprague Supply. Frank Winship and Glenn Barnes over in not very far from where we're located, the CTV studios, the Napa Auto Parts distributor. And Frank, a great fellow who has sponsored for the third year in a row the Catch of the Game. Sprague Supply is the local distributor of auto parts, Napa Auto Parts, in both Columbus, Phoenix City, and Auburn, in fact. Supercharged.
I don't need to say anything about Supercharged, because if you don't know about it by now, because they do a great job. They are everywhere. I can't keep it in my office. I got a refrigerator in my office. I usually try to keep 3 or 4 cases of Supercharged. I'll come in there and it looks like a raccoon went through a trash can. Every time I got to keep my door locked. Great people, Nick, David, all those guys over there, Stormy, Supercharged girls, they all do a great job with this product, and it's just exploding all over it's unbelievable. So great product, great drink. Blueberry pomegranate is my favorite.
All the flavors are good. I think I like that passion orange.
Everybody loves passion.
Yes. Texas Roadhouse is a CTV Beam sponsor of the Lions on Roar Time. And Jenna Temple takes great care of the players. I don't know if there's any restaurant we deal with that they enjoy their steak dinners like they do at Texas Roadhouse. Those coupons do not last. Can't say enough for the Overby Company, which operates Shred-Away as well. Mark Overby has taken care of the Lions for close to 10 years when it comes to copiers, printers, maintenance, repair, our program inserts, which probably are as professional as anybody's. They kill themselves for the Lions, and many, many, many thanks go out to Mark Overby and the Overby Company and Shred-Away. And finally, USAA.
Julian Killerman out of Atlanta, all those guys. You have to give us on Kelly Hill at Fort Benning. USA does a lot of stuff. They did the suite this year, allowed all the soldiers to come to the game, fed them a buffet. They took care of the bill for those guys the entire season. Of course, they did Military Appreciation Night with probably the baddest jerseys I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah.
We auctioned that money off, got a chance to write a check back to the Wounded Warriors Association of Fort Benning and promote that check. Just can't say enough about USA. So we've got great sponsors. It all ties back to CTV Beam. And I'd be remiss. It's a shout out to you, Eric, if I didn't mention Hilton Garden Inn. That is the premier hotel to me in this area. Gayla, Cindy, all those girls out there, the way to take care of our players. Green Hill Apartments, Whisperwood Apartments. Those are the backbones of our organization that keep our players here, because they want to, when you bring a person into Columbus, you got to put them in nice places. And those are 3 of the nicest places you can get in Columbus.
And we've mentioned 15 or maybe 18 companies that have strong ties with the Lions through CTV, Beam, and Roar Time. But in all, there are about 100 advertisers of the Lions, and we thank them all. We just wanted to give special attention to those who are TV sponsors of ours. And that list, I guarantee, will grow.
Make sure you support. I always want to support local business, especially small business, because they're supporting you, and that's it.
We hear that all the time as a member of the East Alabama Chamber of Commerce, and they're very strong CTV partners as well. The Columbus Chamber of Commerce, we have great relationships. And this year, by the way, joined the Auburn and Opelika Chambers of Commerce. So the words are shop local and visit a chamber member first if you can. In any case, thank you for all the sponsors. Let's shift gears a little bit. You want to talk a little bit about the situation with Jarmon Fortson's suspension, in quotes.
Oh, yeah. It was an unfortunate incident in Mass. Obviously, he was ejected for, I'm not going to say he was ejected for fighting. He was ejected for defending himself. There's a difference. So if you watch the YouTube film, some guy in street clothes comes over the wall and swung at Jarmon. And what just so everybody knows, we were on the kickoff team. Jarmon is the R1. And R1 in football terms mean he's the right guy on the kickoff team all the way to the wall, and he's the number one guy going down the sideline. That's where he's supposed to be. He didn't walk over to their bench. That's his position on the kickoff team. So while he was over there talking, maybe he was jawing, doesn't matter. He's on the field, and he's in his position where he's supposed to be. They had a player come off the bench and swing at him in street clothes. So
indefensible.
He swung back. He threw 2 punches, and he got ejected. Rightfully so. He got fined by the league. Rightfully so. You can't do that. He got suspended. So, Jarmon appealed the suspension, wrote a letter explaining his actions and what went down and his version, how it went down, and of course our league reviewed it and overturned it based upon the situation that happened in the game, based upon how it went down, what went down. And they made a decision, which they've done all year long, and all year long we've abided by the league's decisions. And that's how it went down. And here's the thing about it: if we would have played with or without him anyway, because that's just how we are in Columbus. If they kept him suspended, we still would have lined up, wouldn't have complained about it, and we just played. If he does play, he plays, and that's what you have to do as a coach. You just have to worry about your own team. To be honest with you, that's all you really can control. But I've said the same thing. There's many times I'm walking the wall in a game, and I hear all kinds of things. People don't know the things that I hear. Derogatory as well. People call you names. People use slang, foul language and slurs, and call you names, and that's part of the ticket that they pay for. That's what makes arena football great: is the accessibility of the coaches, of the players, and being in that intimate setting to where you see things sometimes you don't think you need to hear. And people call me names all the time, and it's fine. But the second somebody comes over that wall to threaten me on the field, I'm gonna put my foot in their throat.
Sure. Now they're in your turf.
Now that's a different situation. It's not like I'm on the field. That's different. That's different. So they overturned the suspension, and it was probably the right call. And obviously. A lot of people who aren't in the know, want people suspended and kept out. But
is there a possibility, not that it's on the top of our mind, that this suspension could be at the start of next season?
No, it was overturned. I mean, the commissioner reviewed everything. Whatever the commissioner says goes. That's the way it is. That's why we pay a commissioner to make those decisions. Mm-hmm. You start second guessing the commissioner, then why are you doing it? And, you can't always just try to get things done because it benefits you at the time. I'd made a comment that if this was week 13 and we weren't playing a certain team and it was my backup fullback with the same incidents, nobody would say a word. If the suspension was reversed, nobody would say anything. Nobody would care. But because it's Jarmon, because he's the best receiver in the league, now everybody's in an uproar. He needs to be suspended. He's a thug. If somebody called him a thug, to me, that's a racist comment. I can't believe that you can sit there and make that kind of comment off a gesture when somebody came across the wall and threatened him. But it's just my opinion. It only matters to me. I abide by the league rules. The league made a statement, good or bad. If they had left him suspended, I wouldn't have appealed it because the league made a decision. I wouldn't have whined about it on social media because I don't do that. And you just move forward.
Well, wouldn't you say that in Chris Siegfried, our commissioner, we have a very fair man, intelligent commissioner, football background?
Couldn't ask for a better guy because he's disciplined, he's strict. I've had a lot, trust me, and Chris will tell you, I've had a lot of fines this year and things not go my way, okay? And maybe I didn't agree with some of them. Doesn't matter. The league makes the decision. You abide by it. I don't whine about it. I don't go out in public and whine about it. You abide by it and you move forward. And all the league's decisions are in the best interest of the National Arena League. Not in the best interest of me, not in the best interest of a player, not in the best interest of another team. And that's the thing about Chris is he's fair. And like I said before, I trust me, of all the teams in the league, I probably had more calls go against me behind the scenes than anybody else. And you don't hear about it because I'm not that type of guy.
No, and I'm going to say this in your behalf too. I think your professionalism and what you're saying right now is reflected by the attention and respect that I see the referees give you when you challenge calls. You're probably the highest percentage of winner on challenge calls in the game, but you are listened to. I've never seen a referee wave you off.
Well, it's the way you talk to them. They're professionals. They're getting paid. To go scream and holler and jump over the numbers, which is a penalty, watch the film, you're not going to get any respect with that. They're out there to just get the calls right. And just for the record, I think it was funny because I went to Jacksonville. They were all throwing red flags at me. Like, I lead the league in red flags thrown. You know, all the coaches have the same amount of red flags. You can only throw so many. So I don't get to throw more than anybody else. But if the game, because I know the rules, I mean, I've been doing arena football, Rick, since 1996. Okay? So that's 22 years.
Yep.
I know the rules. And if there's something that needs to be challenged, am I supposed to just keep the flag in my pocket and not throw it because I throw too many? Are you kidding me?
Well, that's what I mean when I say that you win your challenges.
Yeah, I win my challenge. I don't throw challenges because, hey, I got a red flag, let me throw a challenge. I throw it when the rules, I mean, come on. That's ridiculous, but, you know.
Well, we know that this is something you're good at. You know the game. When you throw that flag, you've got a legitimate. And I remember the game in Jacksonville. I want to say the first regular season game this year. Call after call after call, you got overturned. You had a great night, a career night.
Yeah, I mean, the ones that were the worst one was the one in Mass when at the end of the game we threw the bubble screen and we fumbled it, and it was the last play towards the end of the game. It cost us the game. And I had a red flag in my pocket, and to be honest with you, I knew we lost it. I knew it was a fumble. But I had to take a chance. I mean, if you don't shoot the basketball, it ain't going to go in. You never know. I mean, I've seen officials miss calls before, so I figured, why not? Might as well throw it. I mean, I don't want to walk into the locker room with a red flag in my pocket if I can use it and have a chance to win. I mean, who concedes? Why would I not throw the flag and concede a loss? That's a loser. If you're that type of person, you're a loser.
I didn't get a chance to ask you about this, but since
get
you
excited
brought up,
about it, so it's funny.
Since you brought up bubble screen, I just want to ask you about the play. I thought it was a key play in the Massachusetts playoff win where surprisingly Deion Small caught a pass up the sideline and rambled.
Fourth down.
Rambled for what, 15 yards or so?
They had shown a tendency on fourth. I knew what they were going to do on fourth down. We had repped that all week long. We had watched film. I knew it was a risk, but I knew what they were doing with their linebacker. Every time we went to certain formation on fourth and short, they were flying the linebacker out to get underneath the motion guy to take it away, pressing everybody else, and nobody was covering the tight end.
Well, it takes some gall and some cojones, you might say, to throw a ball to an offensive lineman with,
fourth down, game
fourth
line.
down, yeah. And it was a key play in that game.
It was a huge play. It was a huge play in that game, but hey, it showed some tendencies, and good for us.
Well, let's wrap up by telling you a little bit more about the championship weekend ahead. Again, the Lions and Carolina Cobras for all the marbles, National Arena League Championship, Monday, the 27th of August, 7 p.m. Eastern Time in Greensboro, North Carolina. What kind of preparation? It looks to me like you've had a heck of a week of practice here. Everybody's had a week off to get healthy. How's the state of mind, this physicality going?
It's pretty good. We needed a bye week. Now I'll keep this short. We needed a bye week. We hadn't had an off week since Memorial Weekend. We were banged up. When we won the Mass game and we were flying home on the plane, I was like, I'll see you guys in a week. And that's what happened. And we got lucky. The Civic Center gave us the turf, put the turf down for us so we're inside. You know, the week of the championship, or the playoff game, y'all, we practiced in the pouring rain every night. And one night we practiced without a football because it was raining too hard. So I didn't want to use a football because when you use an arena football outside in the rain, it's like a screen door on a submarine. So it just doesn't do any good. But we got the arena this week for turf. Our fan base, our Lions tailgating crew, we have eaten like kings this week after practice. I can't describe to you. I can't say thank you enough. You talk about making players happy. Go home with a full belly and get a good night's sleep. There's no problems in the world. And I'm talking massive food. Thanks, big shout out to Joey Drury, getting all that ordered. So we've had a good week of preparation. But honestly, Rick, it's to the point now, we're 23 weeks into this thing, man, how much more practicing can you do? We're not tired. We just want to play the game. So we'll leave Saturday. We'll head up there Saturday night, give them off there, just to get there and relax. Sunday is 12 o'clock, Facebook Live on the league site. You can watch the media day.
Oh.
It's a really good event. Both coaches get to talk. Players from the teams get the medias. All the media's there. You can watch it live on Facebook. We have a brief board meeting with the league to discuss player payroll for next year, maybe increasing the player pay, the season length, some things that to do with the league. Sunday night's the awards banquet, and you want to watch that. I know we've got some Lions players that have won some awards, and that's a really good event. Players get all dressed up in suits and go to this event, and they announce the players of the year, coach of the year, team of the year, all this stuff. And then you go home and go to bed, and then Monday it's game time, man.
Now, about the Carolina Cobras, we discussed your loss of several key receivers, Purifoy and Neal. Right. They lost one of the league's best, Tyrone.
Guy's good, man. Guy's good. I hate that for Tyrone. Don't know him personally. I just know from what I see on film, probably a premier receiver in the league. You don't want to see that happen to anybody. You want the team that – I want to play the best possible Carolina team they have. Mm-hmm. So I would love if Tyrone was playing the game because I want their best players on the field. I wouldn't want to not have their best players on the field. That would be chicken.
But they do have depth with Jordan Jolly, Philip Arnett.
I mean, they got great players, man. I mean, Jordan as good as anybody there is, period. Philip, to me, is, maybe a little underused. He's phenomenal. They've got this three good. I mean, I think the two teams, those set of receivers are the best in the league. And I'm not discarding anybody else. And Mass has got some great receivers too. I can't take anything away from Mass. That's what's fun about the league. But Jolly's a vet. He's a really good football player. He can make chicken salad out of chicken. You know what? And I mean, it's all. He's just what a great player, man. Him and Phillip and the Goodman kid's turning and coming into his own. All of a sudden now he's coming in, catching touchdowns, doing backflips. He's a great player. So where does it stop? And yet you got Laughinghouse sitting on the sideline, not playing.
And you have a receiver named Guerra.
Gary. Yeah, he's a great player. I mean, they're loaded. They're loaded at receiver. Some really good players that then they can make plays. They don't have to be when plays break down. They can really do some good stuff, and you got to respect that. From
Charles McCollum, a good quarterback, and I noticed that they run only about half as often as we do. So
running game's not a factor. It's not a factor. It's not going to be a factor. We got two good linebackers that stop the run. We lead the league against the run, but it's not a running league anyway. It's a passing league, and they're pretty darn good at it.
Deep at receiver, and their kicker Craig Peterson's a big productive guy with almost 200 points.
He's got a lot of points, big leg. Could be a good match. That's a good matchup between Craig and Tyler. It's good. If Tyler had played the whole season here, we're talking about a different player. Craig's going to win Special Teams Player of the Year in my book. I voted for him. I voted for you, Craig. I think you're pretty darn good. But if Tyler had been here all year long, I think they'd have been neck and neck because Tyler's got as big as legs I've seen.
How have you replaced Deron Neal as kick returner? Who's got that role?
We're not going to see one. Craig's going to kick it out of the end zone every time. So that's an irrelevant part of the game, but it's going to be a good matchup. I think we match up well against them. Even the last game we played, you got to figure it was Jeremy's first game. Neal gets hurt. I finished the game with two receivers. We were in the game at halftime. It was 27. I think it was 26-17, and we were getting the kick. They onside kicked it, but we wound up stopping them. We kicked an onside kick. They caught and ran in. So, it's a good matchup for us. A good matchup for them. It'll be a fun game. I kind of knew. It was going to come down to us in the beginning of the season anyway.
Let's talk a second about the crowd factor. What kind of numbers do you expect up there, and how are you hearing about how many Columbus folks are going up?
Columbus folks are going up. There's going to be a lot of our fans going up there. The problem is the arena's so big, it's going to swallow it up. So I don't know what the turnout's going to be. I'm not up there. I don't handle their marketing. I have no idea. It's not going to be a Jacksonville outcome. I think Jacksonville is the premier as far as attendance in the league, and that's good for the league. So hopefully, Carolina can put it all together. And to be honest with you, it feels good to go up as the visiting team. I hate to say that. I mean, from an ownership, financial standpoint, from a business standpoint, we want it here in Columbus for my fans. Plus, when we play in Columbus, there's a pretty darn good chance we're going to win. But going up there to be able to just go up there, show up and play, and let them deal with all the headaches, let them deal with the pressure that, they're supposed to. I mean, we've played them 3 times. We've won 2 out of 3, and they're heavily favored. That's a good thing. That's a good thing for us because
But they haven't won one, and that's the tough hurdle to get over.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's just gonna be tough for them, but they're playing home. They're hot, and that's two good factors for them. But for us, I mean, there's no pressure. I mean, for them, they have to win it, and if they don't win it, it's from a coaching standpoint, it's like it's going to be a letdown. If we don't win it, we weren't supposed to expect them to win anyway, so it's less pressure.
Latest assessment, whatever you can reveal about Mason Espinosa's status?
Oh, we activated him. He's activated, and so he'll be dressing, and I'll let you go from there. So.
Okay, good to go. Well, folks, that's today's edition of Roar Time. There will be at least one more, right, Coach?
Oh, there'll be a championship War Time.
Okay.
Hopefully.
I'm Rick Jacobson. My privilege and pleasure to host today's show with head coach Jason Gibson of the Columbus Lions. Come on, watch that championship game Monday, whether you're up in Greensboro with us or here in Columbus watching CTV's telecast. We thank you for your time and attention. Roar, Lions, roar!